Okay, so let me make sure I'm recording. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to rig the eyeball a little bit, because we need to be able to change the size of the pupil, basically. Okay, so that's going to be our first task. So what we want to do is we need to grab the geometry that needs to resize. Okay, so I'm going to select the geometry that I don't want to resize, that I don't want to be able to select, and put it on a layer temporarily, and I'll reference that so I can't select it. I do want to be able to select this lens cover, or the cornea, which I probably should remodel a little bit, but I'm just going to leave it like that for now. And I do want to be able to select this, and I do want to be able to select the lens, which, there's the lens there, but also inside of the eye, just to make sure that it looks like it's black on the inside, I have this plane back here that's just black. Okay, and that way we can guarantee that even if light does reflect off of it in there, off the inside of the eyeball, and shoot right back out, it's going to look black. Okay, so we'll add that to this layer. Okay, so now I can't select that either. And these other three pieces I need to be able to select. Okay. Okay, so now with all three of these selected, let me go into component mode, and this is where it gets tricky. Press F8, and we need to select the vertices that should be controlled by a cluster so that we can resize this. Okay, so in the back side here, I'm going to select the center of the iris, center of the cornea, and the lens. But I don't want the front of the lens. And this is where I should probably go through and remodel the lens. I don't really want any of the lens, but the way I've got it modeled right now, we'll have to include it. Okay, so I've deselected the front of the lens. I have the iris and the lens in the back of the cornea. I don't know if I said that right. Okay, so now that I've got that done, I'm going to go to Create Deformer, and I want to create a cluster. There's really hardly any options in here, even if you go to Advanced. Advanced options, they have the deformation order. We can adjust that after the fact, and most likely we will want to. Anyway, we'll just click Create, and now we've got a cluster. Now, the problem with this cluster is, well, it's hard to select, but also it's in the wrong spot. If we scale this cluster up right now, it's going to push the iris forward, right? And if we shrink it down, it's going to pull the iris backwards in the eye. So we need to change its look where it pivots from. So what we'll do is we'll create a locator. And we need to snap it. There's a lot of geometry in here. There we go. We want to snap it to about right there, and then we'll move it back. So I'll switch to my translate tool. I'll middle mouse click by holding down V. And there it is, snap to the center. But I want it to be to the center of the iris, which is about right here on that plane. So let me move that back just a tad. Okay. Now, let me rename this locator to the eye dilate. I don't know how you spell that. May have to go back and respell that later. Underscore loc. What is it? Dilate. Like that. Okay. So we have our eye dilate locator, and we actually want to name this for the left side since it's on the left side. So underscore L. Okay. Now we want to grab this name, copy it. We're going to select our cluster. And deselect everything but the cluster. Actually, we don't even have to do that, but I'm doing it. Okay, so we can go to that just makes it easier to go into the attribute editor. And with the cluster selected, we have this cluster handle shape. And the weighted node right now, we want to change this weighted node to the name of our locator, because it just takes in the name. And this little box is new. I'm not familiar with that. That probably is something to make it easier to do. I'll have to look into that. I just paste this, our name of our locator, in that box and press enter. And now the locator is going to be the center of that cluster. Now, this C jumps off in the middle of nowhere. Don't let that alarm you. It's normal. But we will want to hide it. Okay. So to hide it, all you have to do is select its shape and press Control H. So now it's hidden. But now we can move around this cluster to mess with the eye. You guys can see that very well. So we can adjust our eyeball now. And we could scale it. Maybe. It should. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, so we'll just select Y and X. We can dilate the eye, right? Now, what's wrong is it's not a gradual dilating. It's not being dispersed over the geometry. Certainly, the pupil needs to be able to get larger, but we don't want all those vertices that aren't directly in the center to be changing as much as everything else. We want it to have sort of a fall off